Good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Jones. I'm with Jones Business Management and Growth Consultants, and I would like to welcome you to our webinar today, a free webinar for people who are uh, joining us through YouTube and also the members of our free Facebook community, the Landscaping Business Growth Hub. You can find it on Facebook. It is a community where there are daily tips and guides to grow your landscaping business. So today we are going to talk about getting clients without ads, real world marketing that works for landscapers. This is built on my over 20 years experience in growing my landscaping business and also in the several years experience that I have helping others to grow theirs. I also check this regularly with people who are in the marketing industry for updates and tips as to what will help. Again, I would like to welcome everybody here. And, whether you're solo or you're just starting out or you're growing a team, if you want more consistent clients without wasting your money on ads, this is it. This is the place to come to. Okay. So I want to give you a quick little story about, me starting out. Now, of course, when I'd started out over 20 years ago, the internet was not as big as it is now. It was growing. And there were certain things that I could do on there, but Facebook didn't exist. Google Ads was really you felt like you had to be a rocket scientist to work with it. How did I start out in advertising? One of the first things I did was I put an ad in the local newspaper, and it paid for itself the first day that it ran. It ran for a month. I spent, I think it was $212. It ran every day. Plus, it was in the TV Guide once a week, and it was in the Orlando magazine that came out. I think it was once a month, and then some other publication to come out once a week, and all of them, it had it in there. But the first day that it ran, I got a call, paid for the ad. I made a hefty little profit. The problem was is that newspaper went everywhere. So I mean, I was driving all over Hell's Bells to do bids, and I was new. I didn't understand about route density and how important that is. And if you don't know about route density, we'll get to that in just a moment. Um, but I was spending a lot of time, what we call windshield time, right? Where you're in the vehicle and you're just driving and you're not earning any money. It's cost you production hours. But then I started to do flyers, and the beauty of flyers, and I honed this in, door hangers, um, over time. But the first thing that was nice was I was able to focus exactly where I wanted to work. Okay. I said, because I was all over the place with that newspaper ad and I ran it for a couple of months. But I realized early on that, how much time I was losing. So I decided to start bringing things in tighter. So the first thing I did was I said, I'm not going to go any further than a mile from my base of operations and just advertise there. And I papered it with flyers. I was able to put out about 60 flyers per hour, and I was averaging about 3 to 3.5 phone calls per hour's worth of flyers that I'd put out. I'd do flyers for about 2 hours every day to fill in my schedule. Out of those 3 to 3.5, I was pulling about one out of every three that would become a contract, but I was staying within a mile of my house. So as I started to fill up my schedule, I still kept those further away properties, but as it got bigger, as I got, to a larger schedule, then what I started to do was to get rid of the furthest client. So I made a rule. I said, the furthest client away, I will drop them when I feel two closer, right? So I was making more money and I was doing it in less time. But I wasn't just doing a one for one trade, right? I was still willing to drive that extra time because it was just me at the time, right? Sometimes I'd have a helper, but usually it was just me. So the furthest away one I would drop for every two closer ones that I pulled. As time went on, I learned other ways to make my door hangers and flyers more productive. And one thing was to not paper it with just everything in the world. Okay. I didn't put down every single service that I was willing to do. I didn't say lawn mowing, cleanups, landscaping, sod, irrigate, any of that stuff, fence repair, because I used to do fences back when I first started out. Um, I kept it simple, lawn maintenance, and then, call for other services. And then once I got a website, I would just say, lawn mowing, other services on the website, and then I have my website address and a phone number, and that was it. Nowadays, you can put a QR code on there. That QR code can take you right to a landing page, and that landing page could talk about just one service that you have. Maybe it's your lawn mowing, right? Get your foot in the door. Lawn mowing is the best way to get your foot in the door. You get your foot in the door with the lawn mowing. You list your three levels of service. I'm not saying put prices on it. I'm just saying list your three levels of service if you have them, right? Like a basic and then, my basic plus and then my premium. Okay. And say what each of those entails. And then a number for people to call you. Now, here's a little trick. Okay. Get a separate number or you can like a Google Voice or, have it transfer over to your phone, but have a specific number for your landing page so that you know when you're getting calls from your landing page. That landing page is set up for your flyers. Now you know your flyers are getting you calls. You can track it. And we'll get into that in just a moment also. So anyway, my story, about turning my marketing around was paying attention to what was working and what wasn't, and paying attention to, what was productive for me and how to achieve, that productivity. So let me ask you, if I say how to achieve that productivity, um, what exactly am I talking about there? I'm talking about having a goal in your marketing, right? So my goal, if we go back to my story, at the time that I started doing door hangers, was to improve my route, to get customers within a mile of my start point. That was my goal. And so I set up the way that I marketed towards that goal. So when you're marketing now, ask yourself honestly, do you have a goal in mind? I'm willing to bet that a lot of people who are viewing this, the answer is going to be no. Or if it is that they have a goal, it's something vague. They don't have anything specific. However, if you do have a goal, a specific goal, congratulations, because that is 1/3 of the battle that I discuss in my three-step marketing plan. Have a goal. Okay. So when you are sitting down to figure out how to do marketing, how to do it in a low-cost way, but how to make it effective, right? We want to do it for as little money as possible, but we want to make it effective. Have a goal. Ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish? Is it route density? Okay. Is it to build up my lawn maintenance side? Or is it maybe to, increase awareness and get engagement? Because some people, once they get to a certain size, they're not so worried about adding more lawn maintenance customers, but what they are interested in is building up enough of a wider clientele so that when lawn mowing kind of drops off, maybe some of the other services can be picked up, right? Because not every person that you mow lawns for is going to hire you to do a fall cleanup or maybe even a spring cleanup. So then, maybe your goal is to just increase awareness about you so that other people that maybe don't use you for lawn can use you for something else. But whatever it is, have a goal. Okay. So, why does most marketing fail? We're going to cover this just briefly. Most marketing fails because there's no consistency. You've got a goal maybe, but you don't have a plan. And you have a plan, but you don't follow it. You don't follow it religiously. Here was the second thing that I learned about marketing in my business. I was doing those flyers, I was getting calls, and I was getting calls specifically for lawn maintenance, and then I was able to upsell for other services. Okay. I got so busy that I didn't put out any flyers. And then when my pipeline, okay, do you understand what a pipeline is? In other words, that's all, think of like a funnel, right? It's wide at the top and then it gets down like this. So at the top, it's everybody that's calling you, but not everybody that calls you is going to end up buying, right? And maybe some people aren't even people you want to do work with. When you get down to the bottom, then out, doop, 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 coming out of the bottom, that's your sales. Okay. You want to have the top of that funnel constantly filling. Okay. If you don't, what happens is what happened to me. I stopped putting out the flyers. I didn't run the ads in the newspaper because, they were running me all over the place. And then once I'd worked through the work that was in my funnel, I had nothing. And by this point, I had a couple of employees. So now I got payroll I got to cover. And they need hours. And I'm the type of person that wants to make sure that they have hours that they can work, right? I don't want to just go, okay, well, thanks, goodbye. I could never live with myself that way, right? So now it's like eating me up. What did I do? I screwed up. I screwed up. I stopped marketing. I wasn't consistent. So I sat down and I'm like, okay, how am I going to avoid having this problem? And I came up with a couple of things. And one of them was I hired a part-time person to do flyers every day. Just a couple of hours. Somebody that wanted just a couple of hours worth of work. Students were good candidates. Most people would only last a couple of weeks, couple of months doing that. I did have one person that did it for me for over a year. But most people, it was just short term. But I had maps of where I wanted them to go. I kept track of those maps. They did this street on this day, that street, da 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 da. That neighborhood was all done the week of March 25th. That neighborhood was all done the week of March 18th, so on and so forth. So I can go back and go, when's the last time I did this neighborhood? Oh, I did it 2.5 months ago. That should come up again, right? And redo it. So I came up with a plan. I came up with a way to tackle it, and I made sure that that was consistent. Okay, that flyers were going up so that my funnel never went empty again. Okay, that was on door hangers. Now along comes, the internet and Facebook and Google got a lot easier to use. It's still the same thing. Whatever marketing avenues you are going to use, you want to have consistency. Okay. You want to have your goal. You want to have a plan how to get it done and be consistent about it. Okay. I can't count how many people I have seen that I mentor that I explain this to them and they start off great. They put up two, three, four, maybe five posts within a week or two. They look like they're doing fine and then they get busy and it falls to the wayside. It's not good. Okay. One of the things that I have offered before, and you're welcome to go back and look at one of the videos, you can find the link there for it, is talking about doing a marketing calendar. Okay, what are you doing December? What are we going to offer in January? What are we going to offer in February, March, April, May? My marketing calendar would have a tip and it would have an offer. Now, since I was in Florida, I was able to do it year round. But guess what? It doesn't matter where you are. There are still things that you can offer in the landscaping field, even in December and January. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Okay. There can be inspections that you can offer to do after storms or at certain points in the year to look at certain types of plants in your area. And you could actually generate a little bit of money off that. Okay, but you want to have some type of calendar for year round so that you are putting out tips and you're making an offer each month. Now, I would put those offers in my invoices. When I would send off the invoice, hey, now's the time to go check your irrigation. Hey, now's the time of year where fungus can be a problem. Pay us to come by and take a look at it, and spot treat or, whatever. Okay. And also free tips, things to look out for. Like, hey, don't forget to turn your irrigation system to, twice a week now because spring, when the clocks would jump forward in Florida, then you could go to 2 times a week watering. When they fell back, you'd remind people, hey, turn it down to once. Middle of the year, hey, now is a good time again, talking about fungus or, hey, get your azaleas, it's time to trim your azaleas. If you don't want to do it, give us a call. We'll come out and take care of it. But have a calendar. and be consistent, that you set aside time every month to work that stuff into your invoices so that as people get their invoices, it's there. You have a newsletter that goes out maybe once a month or once a week. You put your tips in there. Okay. These things don't cost you any money. Flyers cost you the money to print. And if you're doing it yourself, it's just your time. If you're paying somebody to do it, it's still a nominal charge. Okay. Even if you're paying somebody like 15 bucks an hour to hang them, and they work 4 hours, that's 60 bucks a day plus your printing costs. But you can generate money and you can see whether or not it's working when I get to, the tracking program that I have, spreadsheet that I have that I'm willing to share with you. Okay. But yeah, most landscapers are very bad. It's random posts. They may put flyers out occasionally. They may try Facebook ads or they may make a post on Facebook or whatever, but there's no consistency and there's no tracking and there's no strategy. Okay, so that's your big mistake. Okay, so the other thing is positioning. What do I mean by positioning? There's a lot of landscapers out there. There's a lot of people in the lawn maintenance business. It's always been that way. It's a low bar to entry. So there's always going to be new people coming into the landscaping industry. And guess what? A lot of them aren't going to last very long. Because unlike you who realize that they've got an issue that needs to be worked on, whether it's your marketing or maybe you're confused about pricing or you're trying to figure out how to hire a team, all these things that I help people with in my Gist Academy, right? Which I'll talk with you about in a little bit. Or even in my free Facebook group. A lot of these guys, they don't even know that they have this problem. So within a year or two, they're burned out and they're gone. Okay. But the thing is, it's too easy for you to be competing against all the other people in the landscaping industry so that people just look at you as interchangeable with anybody else. You want to set yourself apart. You want to position yourself. Okay. Um, so talk about what makes you different. What made me different? I educated. Right. If I was at a potential customer's yard and they were telling me about an issue that they'd had, I didn't just go, oh, okay, or I would take the time to explain to them, like maybe why something was a problem. If they, were having drainage problems, how it was affecting things, what the long-term effects could be, how I could fix it for them. Okay. I was reliable. People knew that I was going to come every week on the day that I said that I was going to, or the next day if there were rain. And but the thing is, I also took the time to target the types of clients I wanted. I picked the neighborhoods that I wanted. I picked them within a range that I wanted, and I worked on that route density. Okay, so I've said route density a couple of times, and for those of you who don't understand it, allow me to explain. Every minute that you spend in a car, the truck, right, going from job to job, is money, is time that you are not making money. Okay, so on an 8 hour day, if you're spending an hour and a half in the truck, you're only working 6.5 hours. What if you could only spend half an hour in the truck and work the entire 7.5 hours? Okay, that extra hour, that can be a lot of money. Route density is when you have multiple properties at one stop or so close together that the windshield time barely even counts. Okay. I had numerous stops where I was doing 5 to 8 properties all at the same time. That's route density. And how did I do it? I did it with door hangers and flyers. I did it by peppering a neighborhood with signs. So what I would do is I would take my yard signs and the neighborhood that I wanted to focus on for that 10-day period, every property that I had in there, I would ask, can I put a sign in? And if they said yes, I'd tell them the sign's only going to be up for 7 to 10 days. I'd put signs at every property in that neighborhood that I serviced so that other people in that neighborhood would be driving and go, holy cow, this Dan guy is everywhere. He must be good. And then I'd get more calls. Then I'd yank all those signs and I'd go to the next neighborhood and I'd work there. Okay. So this was how I built route density with signs and door hangers and magnets on my trucks, right? Magnets on my vehicle just when I would drive through and do inspections. People were seeing me everywhere. Okay. All of those are low cost. Aside from buying the signs, aside from buying the magnets for the truck, I'm not spending any money to pay someone to wrap it on their own truck. I did it all on my stuff. Okay. And the goodwill of my customers. So my customers were willing to do that because they liked me. They appreciated me and I appreciated them. Okay. So we've talked about, door to door flyers, do in your neighborhood. You can do about 60 flyers an hour. You can use simple offers. Like I said, you want to do QR codes, maybe pricing hooks. I don't know. I used to, we'll do a basic visit for your property and then we would write in the amount. It worked out. Occasionally, I'd end up with a yard that, had a backyard that was just monstrous. But usually I could price those pretty well. But the other thing is, since I was doing what's called anchoring, right? I'd start with, the low price, but then when I would do the bid, I would talk about the other two levels of service that I offered. I usually got one of the other two levels so that I could work the price out. But if it didn't, I would honor it. And then after a while, I would say to the people, well, we misjudged this, but it actually, instead of being, $45 probably needs to be about 50. And if the people pushed back and got angry, then I'd either go, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. Or if I liked them, or thought that I could make do with it, I'd stick with the price. But usually people were very understanding. No, no, that's fine. I kind of thought that was a little low and it'd be good, but I honored it always first, right? I didn't pull any bait and switch. I'd do the work for a while that way. But like I said, it was rare that people would choose that lower service. Usually they were picking the middle or the top one. Okay. Um, so local Facebook groups, a lot of community groups, you can go in there. Some of them allow you to advertise. Some of them allow you to advertise only one day a week on a certain day. Other ones don't want any advertising. Doesn't matter though. You can go in there and offer advice. Why does offering advice help you? Simple. Because when you offer advice that's sound, people start to recognize you as an expert. And then when they need what you offer, they remember you. So how would I preface that? Somebody says, well, I got this brown spot in my yard. Well, in my experience as a landscaper, at this time of year, that thing is probably this or that. Here's a good way to look, this way or that way. However, if it's too much of a problem, just shoot me a message. I'd be more than happy to come by and take a look at it. Now, I'm in a community group that's near an area that I work in. Is it any skin off my teeth to take a couple of minutes to go meet with somebody and look at something? Because chances are, if I get out there and identify what the problem is, I'm going to be the one fixing it. So maybe not, maybe they don't, but I've now made myself an expert. People know they can call me. And when people do call me, usually it's going to result in a job. Well, usually when I put a flyer out, it results in a job, right? But not all the time. So it's the same thing. I spend a little bit of time, you know, talking to people, building up my credibility. I spend a little bit of time maybe going to look at a problem for somebody and possibly potentially pulling a client. But at the very least, building a relationship with somebody who will either refer me, hey, this guy came and looked at my property. Maybe he can look at yours. Maybe he can help you with your problem. Or the next time they have a problem, they're going to call me and they're going to hire me. Okay. So Facebook groups can be a great way. And if they do allow a free advertising once a week, have something set up based on your marketing calendar, your free tip, your free offer, or not your free offer, your free tip, your offer for that month. Have something pre-written up that you can post every week. Okay. Referrals and reputation boosters. So there's two ways that you can get referrals, two good ways. One, any client you're doing work for. Okay. So you do want to ask them if you've got a Google My Business page. You know, Hey, could you leave me a review? Right. But you also want to offer them the ability to give you a referral and tell them if they give you a referral, you'll give them X number of dollars or something off the next cut or so on and so forth. Okay. You should offer them something though for giving you that referral. I used to give, 50% off one visit. So if they were set up on a monthly service, it would be, I'd take 1/8 off the price for every time that they gave me a referral. But you can set it up however you want, but just be consistent about it and honor it, right? Never renege on it. You get me a paying client, I'll give you this, and just do it. The other way is to build up relationships with people that are in adjacent industries to you. So like gutter cleaning, okay, pressure washing companies, pest control if you don't do pest, or spraying and stuff like that, fertilization if you don't do that. All these people you can work together with and you can make referrals to them. You can also sub them out. Okay. And then they give referrals to you. You tell them, hey, these are the neighborhoods I want to work in. Okay. But those two types of referrals can be very, very beneficial for you. But it comes with building a relationship. Okay. And always doing what you say you're going to do. So now I want to talk about tracking what works. If you're marketing without tracking, it's just noise. It's like taking spaghetti and throwing it on against the wall to see what sticks, but you don't know like which piece of pasta is the best tasting, right? You just know that some pasta stuck. So let's take a moment and look at this tracker that I've created, which I will give to any of you that drop the comment in the live YouTube video. If you drop the comment tracker, I will make sure to get it for you. And if you're watching this afterwards, and same thing, just drop tracker, and I will get you the link for both my three-step marketing guide and for this tracker. So we're going to share the screen here, and we're going to go there. And okay, so here we are. This is an Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to share with you. I have filled some information in already. And so what I did was I created a flyer, door hangers area, a Facebook ad, and a Google. Okay. You could always add more and just copy and paste in the formulas if you want, or you could always reach out to me and I can walk you through how to do it. But let's go ahead and give an example. Let's say that I put out flyers and my running expenses was $280 or 270, $330, right? For flyers. And, so Bill, he did a lawn. The value was 150. I estimate that my gross profit would be 80. He converted, yes, he became a sale. Tom, landscaping work, 5,500. He converted, right, giving me a gross profit of 2375. And then 15,500 for a hardscaping job, but they didn't convert, so it doesn't go. So let's come over to the overview sheet though. Now I can see from the flyers that, I spent $330 for that month of March, right? Um, to get 3 leads and 2 converted. Now, honestly, I hope you get a hell of a lot more leads than that. I just didn't want to spend all day typing crap in. I just wanted you to be able to see, how this works. It converts. It will pull from here, 1, 2, 3. It'll count out however many there are, and it'll also count out how many converted, and it'll tell you what your close rate is. Okay. And then it tells you what the sales are generated and it totals up the gross profit. So it totaled the gross sales and the gross profit and then creates a return on investment. Okay. So 643% return on what was invested. Okay. Now, what does this color coding mean? Well, let's go over and take a look at the Facebook ads. We'll see that on the Facebook ads, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, I'm just making this all up just for us to be able to look. But on a Facebook ad, I spent $195, but I only converted one of my 5 bids. Okay, I got 5 bids. I converted one. So we go back over here. You notice it's red? My conversion rate is at 20%. I set this up that if you're closing over 80% or under 30% to turn that red. And the reason that I want that is so that I know, you know what, if I'm closing too many jobs, chances are my pricing is too cheap. And if I'm closing too few, well, I'm either too expensive on my pricing, or maybe I'm not following through and getting the estimate to people. We talked about that in a webinar a couple of weeks ago. Or maybe, I'm just not even, I'm just failing in communication. You don't necessarily know the answer, but when you're seeing the red, you know you've got something you need to investigate. So that's why I put that in there. But it shows the ROI. And then over here, so just so you know, everything on this page, with the exception of the date, everything on the overview sheet, you don't have to touch. You just put in the month and then save it. Over here, it shows what the overall return is. Okay. How many leads you got, how many conversions. So it totals everything together. You'll notice 3 and 5 and 3. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. That's how many leads I got. Total conversions, 2, 1, and 3 equals 6 right there. This is my close rate. That's a good close rate, even though the other two were bad. What else can this tell you? This can also tell you, for example, in the Google ads, let's look, we spent $1,750. We only got 3 leads and we generated sales that were less than. And so it was a negative ROI. So is it, what what's going on? Well, apparently Google ads is not generating enough for the amount of money that we're spending. So either there's something the matter with our ads, or just Google Ads isn't working for our business. But now we've got something to investigate. This will allow you to know what avenues of marketing work best for you so that you can double down or triple down on the ones that really work for you. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to stop that share right there. And I want to just see if anybody has any questions, any comments, anything. You're welcome to let me know. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything. So we are going to go back to just wrapping up here a little bit. So education equals trust equals sales. Just like I was saying in those free Facebook groups, but even when you go meet a client, even if they're off a flyer, educating through your year-round marketing to your existing and past customers, um, giving away information, giving knowledge that you have builds people's trust in you. And so now it positions you again. Like I said, you're standing out now from all those other people in the landscaping industry. Okay. You now have positioned yourself as a person that they can trust who has credibility. And that always leads to more sales. Okay. So I just want to reinforce that. Learn as much as you can and be ready to impart that knowledge. Okay. Um, Following up is very, very important. So answer your phone. Okay. If you can't answer the phone, return your messages. Okay. Return voicemails. Answer your text, answer your emails. If you make an appointment with somebody, be there and be on time. Okay, show that you're reliable in every way that they touch your business. If you've got a website that they're to go to, make sure that the website's working. If you've got a phone number that they can call, make sure that it's either answered or that you return the call as quick as possible. Honestly, answer it in any way you can. If you got to get a VA or have earbuds on and just really listen for when the phone, turn the mower off and answer it, that's far better than the voicemail. Some people just don't like to leave voicemail. Okay. So every time that people touch your business in any way, shape, or form, you want to make sure that they see that you are a reliable source of information, a reliable provider that they can hire that is going to build credibility. After you leave a bid, you want to leave a friendly first reply. You can do a text, you can do a video message. That's what one of my recent people that I was mentoring was talking with me about, how he liked to leave the video message. It's a new thing for me. It's not quite my generation thing. I would have never thought of it, but I can see where it would work. Email is another way. Then you want to follow up 2 days later. Usually if you don't get any type of response, and then you can do a final check-in about 2 days after that, and you can do even leave a tip when you do that final check-in, right? Sometimes you've got to touch people back 2 to 3 times before you get any response. So be persistent, but don't be pushy. Okay. And just remember that everybody's busy. You're busy. They're busy. You're probably not first and foremost on their mind. Okay. Now, observation, just so you know, if you're new to the marketing game, if it's raining, do not expect your phone to ring. Don't think that means you've gone out of business. It's just something psychological. Somebody could have your door hanger. They could have looked at it the night before. Tomorrow, excuse me. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to call this guy about the lawn. If it's raining, you are not what they're thinking about. It will be so rare that you get a phone call during the rain. Okay. So it really can be a day to relax. So let's just remember, I want to wrap this up and just talk about, the couple of things, So why does most marketing fail? Because there's no consistency. Okay. Um, Door hangers, local Facebook groups, Nextdoor, and client referrals. Those are great low cost ways to build your business. So is the yard signs in the targeted marketing areas where you're trying to get your route density up, and truck magnets on your truck. Okay. All of those are low cost ways to improve your presence and generate new jobs. You want to track what's working and you want to stop doing what's not. Okay. If you've got a negative return on something, you either need to figure out why or just dump it entirely. Educate, educate, because that's going to build those trusts and that's going to give you sales. And then follow up consistently and politely, not pushing out. Okay. And if you want to take what we've covered today and you want to get a full system to grow your business month after month, I want you to try my Gist Academy. Gist Academy is on the school platform and it is self-paced lessons grown from my over 20 years experience building my own business, as well as the years of experience helping others to build theirs. And it's only currently $49 a month. On April 1st, it's going to go up to $59 a month. But it has a 7-day free trial. I don't understand why, anybody wouldn't be willing to try and pay even for uh, that service. The $49 a month, even when it goes up to 59, pays for itself month after month in the lessons that I give. There are classes in there, and I'm adding new classes every month into there so that it's a continual learning area for you. If you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like, you can't get your pricing right or your marketing or hiring a team or leading or whatever it is, okay, we are covering those things every month and we keep adding to it. So join the school community. You'll find it a link in the video description when this video is posted later. And also, if you're looking for one-on-one mentorship, I do have limited spots each month. And if you go to my YouTube bio, you can find the link, or if you're in the free Facebook group, the link is in there also. So I'm going to open the floor one more time, see if there's any more questions, any questions out there. And if not, then we are going to wrap up. Just give me a minute while I check the other area. Um, no questions? Okay. Well, folks, I want to thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you next week. If you are in the free Facebook group, I remind you that this Friday at 6 p.m., we have our weekly huddle where we get together and we discuss our wins and challenges for the week. It's almost like a little coffee klatch at the end of the week that we can get together. I look forward to seeing you there. If you're on YouTube, join our free group. And there's, lots of informative posts that are put out there. And of course, if you're really looking to grow your business, join school. Thank you very much and have a